you're here today.
Oh, well, yeah, my family and I have been going through a little bit of a transition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm staying at home full time, and my husband took on a new job,
Okay.
um, to make enough money so that I could stay home now that we have a new baby.
Sure.
And, I've never really dealt with jealousy or insecurity with our marriage, but I'm noticing that I'm just really uncomfortable. He's working at this company where he's surrounded by women all the time. A lot of them are young, fresh out of college. As a new mom, I'm not super comfortable in my skin yet. Mom bod, that whole thing. And yeah, I'm just like, the past couple weeks I've been noticing myself like questioning if he's coming home, and he's never super late, but even a few minutes late, and like wanting to look through his phone and just behavior that's not like me. And so I know that it's not really about him, and it's probably me, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Well, when was the first time that you noticed the start of these feelings? Was it immediately when he took the job, or a few weeks after? Was something said and that sparked it?
There wasn't anything that was said. I mean, he started there probably 2 months ago. The baby was only about 3 months old when he started. So yeah, 2 months ago. But, I think he was at his old job pretty much since we started dating. And I knew everybody there, and I felt very included in all of the conversations. And when he would talk about somebody, I always knew who it was. And I think just the more that he shares when we do get to talk, which isn't a whole lot with a baby, but he's every conversation. It's Janine and Stacy, and I was like, "Are there any men in your office?" And just hearing again that so many of them are fresh out of school, and I'm sure have these fun, exciting lives, and our life revolves around a baby that needs a lot right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, has there been any other times where you have felt these same feelings in the past prior to him starting this job? These feelings of jealousy?
Not really. I mean, when we first started dating, maybe a little bit, just because of like stuff from other relationships, experiences that I had had. But our relationship has always just been very secure. I've always felt like confident. So I never, and definitely not to this extent. I've definitely, since we've been married, I've never thought about going through his phone or email or anything like that. And I haven't done it, but
Yeah. You've noted that there have been some life shifts for you. Besides him taking the job, this is also happening while you've had a baby, and so that has maybe affected some of your self-confidence. Is that what I'm hearing? As part of it maybe playing into it?
Yeah, I mean, on top of like obviously the changes in my weight and the way that I look because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was working before, and we definitely went out a lot before. A lot of our friends don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
So that whole social dynamic has changed a lot. We still see them, but a lot of times it's them coming over to our house, and that way the baby can be in the quiet, and we catch up where we can. I don't know, I guess I just feel like I'm not much fun anymore.
Have you communicated these feelings to your husband at all?
He's not really a feelings guy.
Okay.
I guess in my own ways, like I've probably not in the most effective way, like said some sideways comments about like the women at work, and but I don't think effectively I've communicated it. I think it usually comes out as me complaining or saying like I'm no fun anymore, or yeah. And he's super positive, and our faith is really important to us, and I feel like it always comes back to that, and he's just always like, this is a season that we're in, and I love that, but I just can't get past it myself.
Do you feel like if you could communicate it, how do you think that would be received by him?
I don't know. mean, I think he would probably tell me that I'm being ridiculous, and I think I've played that conversation in my head. Like, I don't feel like there's anything he could say to make me feel better about it, because he's not saying anything wrong to begin with. But I also just don't see, like, where I can create the shift that I want to see.
Yeah.
So I just kind of feel stuck.
That makes sense. It's okay to feel stuck. Are there any other feelings that you might be able to associate other than feeling jealousy and maybe some mistrust? Or are those the main thing too?
I mean, maybe, like, just sad. Almost like, I mean, I love I've always wanted to be a mom. But I guess I didn't think about how much would change, you know, this quickly. Like, she's still tiny. She doesn't do much yet.
Yeah.
But it's like my whole world has changed. I don't know. I guess I didn't expect it to be this different.
Yeah. There's definitely a huge identity transition from just being a wife to now being a mother and a wife. And there might be some feelings of competition there and pulling you out of it, where before maybe you'd have more time with him. And is time something that's important to you to feel affirmed by your husband?
Yeah. Yeah. Time and, you know, like, feeling included in his life.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense, because at his old job, like, where I knew everyone, he could, you know, tell a quick story and I would understand the dynamics. I knew everyone. Whereas now it almost feels like he doesn't share as much because I don't know. And also, I mean, I think our time is limited. So, you know, do we really want to talk about work? And we're focused on the baby and, you know, what little excitement we have.
Yeah. Since you've had the baby and since you've started the job, is there a moment or time that you and your husband have shared together as a family that has made you feel more secure and loved by him? Is there a specific moment that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, we really enjoy sports. So I think just, you know, when there's been a game on and we sit down as a family to watch, that's something we've always done as a family. So it helps, you know, like, when we come around her together and it's the three of us, and because that gets me excited about things that we will do together.
Sure.
And I guess because I feel like he's having fun and I can see that he's having fun, so I feel like I'm doing a good job.
That makes sense. Are there things coming up or things in the future that you can see are similar to those experiences that you've had that maybe you can proactively put in place to kind of have that bonding time with your husband?
I mean, I'm sure there will be. I guess it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like, I keep thinking that, like, I didn't expect having a 5-month-old to be like this, and, like, what's it gonna look like with a 1-year-old?
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder, you know, because a lot of times now it's just the three of us. We're not with, where we used to go out with big groups, you know, it would be like 10 of us meeting up for dinner and things like that. I don't, maybe it'll change as our friends start having kids, but I don't, there's so much that I don't know.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to kind of your communication style with your husband briefly, because I think that's an important thing to touch on. Can you explain to me a little bit about how you and your husband typically talk about or resolve conflict in conversation?
So we've come a long way with that. We come from really different backgrounds. My husband is, like I said, not a feelings guy. Very, like, cut and dry. Like, we used to struggle with that a lot because I would share about something that I just wanted to get off my chest, and his go-to is like, I gotta fix it. And so I think we were able to, and we did like a prep for marriage through our church, and I think we started to identify it there, but no matter how much you practice, like real life happens. But he's learned to listen a little bit better, but he's still definitely, and he kind of like resorts back to that, like, I'm a fixer, it's who I am. And so in some ways I think I have learned to share certain things with a mentor or a friend. Not that I don't share them with him, but I don't have that expectation of like receiving comfort or I kind of know I'm gonna get feedback.
Yeah.
But he can get really defensive too.
In what ways?
I think like he just wants to be good, like a good husband, a good dad, a good employee, and so sometimes I think if he feels like he's not being received that way, he's very quick to need to prove like all the ways that he is good.
Sure.
He's not, I don't feel like there's a lot of room for like he's doing a good job and I'm struggling with something.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. Like if I'm struggling, he must be doing something wrong, and that's like a shot at him.
Yeah, that's a tough feeling to feel, especially a lot of men. I hear that a lot. They want to fix when women just want to be understood and accepted and allow space for processing. Is that something that you've communicated to him of, I don't need you to fix this situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's something you have grown in a little bit?
We have. We
Okay.
definitely have.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's definitely way better than it used to be, and I think we communicate pretty well for the most part. But this whole thing, I just almost feel silly. Because it's not like I logically think that anything's going on, but sometimes my emotions just get the best of me, and then my mind rolls with it. Like if I'm up late with the baby and he's sleeping, and that's usually when I get in my head about it. Like I'll start thinking like, well, what about this? What did he do at lunch yesterday? He had an hour. Where did he go? Who was he with?
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the first thoughts and then the rabbit trail that takes, especially when you're alone? Those thoughts can definitely develop into more things. What's kind of the start for you, and then what can you lead me along that process of thought?
So a lot of times it's if I'm up in the middle of the night trying to get the baby back to sleep or feeding her, and I'll start thinking about like what I have to do the next day. And there's days that he goes to the gym at lunch, so I know I'm packing him. I'll pack him a lunch. It's just something that I like to do for him.
Yeah.
And on the days when I'm thinking about the next day, if I'm thinking, oh, he's not going to the gym tomorrow, or oh, he didn't go today, so I wonder what he did for lunch today. We didn't talk about that. And then I'll think like, oh, I wonder who he ate with, and he hasn't talked about this person in a while, so I wonder who he's spending time with, and I wonder where he went. And then it immediately like goes to this place of like, oh, well, it must be that new intern, which is silly. Because I mean, he's very conservative, and like he won't even drive with another female in his car unless I'm with him. So there's nothing that in his behavior to make me think. And then I'll go back and forth in my head like that. Like, you're being crazy. That's not logical. But what if it is? I'm sure any woman who's been in this position and their husband's had an affair didn't think it was logical. Just second guessing myself.
Yeah. Well, what are some ways that you feel like your husband could affirm you in his love for you and you being his wife? What are some things, maybe in the past that he's done, maybe not recently, but some things that has really affirmed you to know that he loves you and he's committed to you?
I don't know if I know an answer to that.
It's okay.
I guess it's something for me to think about.
Yeah. It's really important for both parties to feel affirmed by their spouse, and you affirming him is really important, and him affirming you is really important. And also communicating those needs to each other is really, really important.
Yeah.
Even if it's just simple, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but like, hey honey, I really appreciated when you did this for me. I felt really loved. Just calling out little actions like that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something this week that you can think about, like if he spends some extra time sitting by you or spends time with the baby and you really feel affirmed by his commitment to you and the family by doing that, whatever that looks like. It can be very, very small, but affirming those things can be really helpful because that will produce more if he knows how to love you or love on you, you know.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's just some food for thought to be able to share maybe with him just what really makes you happy and feel loved by him.
Yeah, it's definitely something for me to think about too.
Yeah. Yeah, what are some things that you think he feels loved on when you do for him? Because it sounds like you do a lot for him and for the family. I can already see that you're a great mom, being with the kids or being with the baby and packing lunch and taking care of the home while he's gone. Those are very, very big things.
Yeah, I mean, I know that he really appreciates, you know, when I make him lunch, or, you know, even just that I know his schedule and that I have things ready before he asks. I don't know what else. I feel like for so long it was, you know, planning nights out and like it was just different.
Mm-hmm. It is. It takes adjustment with the baby.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back to talking about some of the thought patterns. You said that faith is important to you and your husband. When you're thinking kind of those thoughts that you feel aren't grounded, are there times in which you feel like praying or asking the Lord or feeling encouraged by asking the Lord for his perspective on a situation? Is that ever something that you do, or how do you bring
what's
faith in?
crazy is I don't.
Okay.
And it's wild because it's like every other situation that's, you know, when the baby was first born, I was crazy. Just like watching her sleep and trying to make sure that she was always okay.
Sorry.
And I was constantly in prayer. And it's like now, it just doesn't occur to me.
That's okay. There is seasons for everything. Sometimes just awareness and bringing that back is helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're actually in a really great spot. I think there are a lot of good things to think about for this week.
Yeah.
You know, thinking about how you feel loved by your husband, how maybe you can even ask your husband or just be thinking about how he feels loved by you, especially in this new season, and thinking about how to bring the Lord into the situation, whatever that looks like. First asking him and asking for his hope and his peace over the situation, and I'll be praying for that clarity for you as well. But we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Of course.